Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Today I'm coming to you with a long overdue video. Oops. Today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. Obviously, it's past mid-year. I was supposed to upload this in June, but I was on hiatus and I only just came back to BookTube late last month. So yeah, I'm only just getting around to filming it. It's fine. It's okay. We're getting over it. It's okay. If you don't know what the mid-year book freakout tag is somehow, it's basically just a bunch of questions to do with how your reading is going so far at the mid-year point. That's what it's all about. I have done this tag a bunch of times before. I think I've done it in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So the last 5 years. So I'll link all of those down below in case you are interested. They are a bit cringy if you go back to like the first one because it's baby Samantha. They are there in case you wanted to know what my reading was like in 2016. So before I get into everything, I just want to say this year for reading has not been the best for me. I've had a lot of 3-star reads, not a ton of 5-star reads. It's all been like 3 and 4 stars, which 4 is good, but a lot more 3s than 4s. Overall, I've been feeling pretty average about reading this year. So hopefully the second half of the year, or I guess the last 4 months at this point, hopefully they are better for me because I would love to enjoy the books that I'm reading, obviously. But with that being said, let's do this. So the first question is the best book you've read so far in 2021. So for this one, I'm going for Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is Chanel Miller's memoir talking about her experience being sexually assaulted and the case that followed. And it was a very, very difficult read, but such an important read. And it was just so beautifully written. I don't really have that much else to say about this apart from the fact that I think that everybody who can read it, if you're not gonna be like too negatively impacted by reading it, I think that everyone who can read it should read it. I think it should be required reading. It was amazing. I would definitely recommend this book. It was by far the best book I've read this year. Maybe not my favorite book I've read this year, but it was like the best one for sure. The second question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2021. And for this one, I'm going to go for Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third and final book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. I'm sure you know because it's so popular. But if you don't know, this is a companion trilogy following 3 sisters, and the first one follows the oldest sister, Chloe Brown. The second one follows the middle sister, Dani Brown, and the third one follows the youngest sister, Eve Brown. And it is just so fun and so cute, and I absolutely loved my time reading it. And it was also by far my favorite in the trilogy. I just think that I liked the romance more in this one. I preferred Eve as a character to Dani and Chloe. I loved this one with like all of my heart, whereas the other two I liked but not as much. And it basically follows Eve Brown, whose life is a little bit of a mess. She's kind of had a bunch of different jobs but hasn't committed to like a career path, and her family are like done with her. They're like, you have to make a decision and just figure out what you're doing with your life, which is very topical to me right now. Not that my family is pushing me to make a decision with my life, but I'm at the point now where I've graduated university and I have to make a decision about what I want to do with my life. Anyway, that's a crisis for another day. One day she stumbles into this bed and breakfast, and the guy who works there, Jacob, he's the owner, he's looking for a new chef, but they do not get on in the beginning because Jacob is like this very much like set in his ways and very like organized, structured guy, and Eve is very much a bit all over the place. So they're not really fans of each other to begin with, but they do eventually grow to have feelings for each other, and it is just so cute and very, very fun, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. The third question is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I feel like I have a bunch of answers for this question because I really don't think I've kept up with new releases this year because I've been trying to read a lot of my physical books, so a lot of that is very much backlist. So I have here A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. I do want to read that, although I want to reread the original trilogy first, so I don't know if I'll get to that this year, but I would like to read it. Game Changer by Neil Shusterman. I have the ebook, but I just haven't read it yet. Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab, the third and final book in the Cassidy Blake trilogy. The Anti-Relationship Year by Katie Wismer. I just think this one sounds so fun, and I really want to get to that at some point. I also have The Rose Code by Kate Gwynn, which I actually have right here from the library, which I really want to read. The Firekeeper's Daughter, Again, really want to read that. I actually have a hold on that on my for my library, and I'm planning to read it in August, so hopefully it comes through. Dial A for Aunties. This one just sounds like it would be really fun. And then finally, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really want to get to that one as well. I think that I'm probably going to like that one the most of all of the Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I've read so far. So that's just a rapid fire list of books that I should have read already this year but haven't. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I wrote out my answers to the questions a couple weeks ago, so this is kind of out of date, but it has now come out. But It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I've heard that this is like a Schitt's Creek-esque type of book. Like the main character is kind of like Alexis from Schitt's Creek, which I watched earlier this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed that show. It was so fun. I really enjoyed Alexis's character, so I'm really excited to get to this one at some point, but I just haven't yet. But the one book that actually hasn't come out yet, which I am dying for, is The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the sequel to The Inheritance Games, and I read that book in August last year and I loved it. It was one of my favorite books of the year last year. It might have even been my favorite. I think it was in my top 3. Like, oh no, it wouldn't have been my favorite because I read what I read last year that I loved? The Book Thief. That was my favorite book of last year. But I think it was in my top 3 because I adored this book. It is a YA mystery following our main character who randomly inherits this billionaire's fortune, and she's like never met him. It's a mystery of like, why has she inherited this money? And the only catch is that she has to go and live in his mansion with his family who is still alive, and obviously they all dislike her because she inherited this money that they think that they should have got. And it is so fun. If you liked the movie Knives Out, read this book. It's perfection. I'm so excited for the next book, and she just announced that it's actually going to be a trilogy, so I'm super excited for the third book as well. I just hope I like the second book too. That's coming out in September, which is only next month. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I completely like forgot about it, and now I'm just so excited. The next question is biggest disappointment, and I have 2 for this one. The first one is the last book in the Ember Quartet by Sabaa Tahir, and that was A Sky Beyond the Storm. I found this book to be so disappointing because I feel like there was so much build up. Like, I started reading this series back in 2016, so I had been with it for 5 years. There was so much build up to something fantastic, and I just feel like there were so many convenient things that happened, and like the more I think about it, the just more upset I get. Like, I just wish it was better than it was. Like, I still enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars, but more like a 3.5 I think, but it just wasn't what I wanted. Like, I wanted more from it. I really enjoyed it, but I wanted more. Definitely A Sky Beyond the Storm. I'm really sad about that one. Another one that was a disappointment was Legend by Marie Lu. I read the first 2 books in the Legend trilogy in May, and I just think that like this was so hyped back in like 2013, and I bought this series like 5 years ago and finally read it, and I just didn't get the hype at all. It just read like any other 2011 dystopian, and it just wasn't the best. But I do want to try out more Marie Lu books in the future. This just wasn't not the one for me. The next question is biggest surprise, and for this one I'm going to go for Accidentally Engaged by Farah Heron. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this. Actually, I must have heard someone talk about it. I don't know how I heard about it, but anyway, I heard about it somehow. My library had the audiobook and I just thought it sounded really cute. It's basically about this woman who her parents are trying to set her up for an arranged marriage with this guy who happens to be her new next door neighbor, but she doesn't realize that. She kind of like flirts with him one time, and then they end up having to pretend to be engaged so that she can enter this cooking show, and then they get feelings for each other, and it was just like so fun and cute. I really enjoyed my time reading this one, and it was just kind of unexpected because I really haven't heard very many people talk about it. It ended up being like a really good and fun time, so I would highly recommend that if you haven't heard of it before. Check it out. The next question is favorite new author, and this could be a debut or a new to you author, and I have a few for this answer. So my first one is Alice Oseman, because she is a new to me author, but I've read like 4 of her books already and I've really enjoyed all of them. So yeah, definitely Alice Oseman. I still need to read Radio Silence. I will at some point very soon, I promise. The next author is Chanel Miller, because her writing was just exquisite. So I'm looking forward to reading more books by her when she writes something else, which hopefully she does, because I would love to read some fiction by her, or if she has any other nonfiction that she wants to write, I would definitely read it. She's one of my new favorite authors because she had like the best writing that I've read so far. And then the last one is someone who I'm intrigued to read more of their books because I only read a short story by them, and that is Zen Cho. I read her short story, The Terracotta Bride, and I enjoyed it, but I think because it was just a novella, it wasn't like my favorite thing ever. But I know that she has a few books, and so I'd definitely be interested to try out more of her stuff. So that's why I'm putting her on this list. Anyway, so those are a bunch of authors who I am intrigued to read more of their work in the future. The next question is newest fictional crush, and I'm not gonna lie, no one. Literally no one. I don't really get crushes on fictional characters anymore. That's something I used to do when I was younger, but now I'm too busy trying to date in real life. I'm too busy trying to get crushes on real life guys that I don't have time to crush on fictional characters. So NA, not applicable. The next question is newest favorite character, and for this one I'm going for Rocky from Project Hail Mary. I don't actually want to tell you who Rocky is because I kind of think it's a bit of a spoiler, but Rocky from Project Hail Mary, which is by Andy Weir. It's Andy Weir's newest book, and I really enjoyed this book, but Rocky just like was definitely my favorite character from that book, and I think my favorite character of the year so far. The next question is a book that made you cry, and I have only cried in 2 books this year, which honestly I think is more than I did last year. I think I only cried in 1 book last year, but the obvious answer is Know My Name. I cried a lot whilst reading that book. It was very upsetting, but I also cried when reading Crescent City, which surprised me because I didn't even like, I did enjoy that book actually. I was gonna say I didn't enjoy it that much, but I did. But I didn't think that I was attached enough to cry. But I did. I cried whilst reading Crescent City, and I'm shocked. But yeah, it made me cry. So question 11 is a book that made you happy, and for that one, Accidentally Engaged made me really happy. Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and also Act Your Age, Eve Brown. They both made me really happy. So those 3. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book that you've bought or received so far this year. And my one for this, I actually got in December of last year, but I haven't even like hauled it yet because I haven't done a book haul in a really long time. But I think the most beautiful book that I've got has to go to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because this British cover is just stunning. I love it. And also underneath is really cool. Get out of there. Underneath is really cool as well. I have to say that I think this one is the most beautiful, but I really haven't bought that many books in the last year, so yeah, but I think that that one takes the cake. Question number 13 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them. No, I have so many books that I need to read, but for this one I have chosen books that I put in a video that I made at the beginning of the year, which was like 10 books I need to read this year. I'll link that video up in the card in case you're interested. I've read some of the books from that list. I still have a lot left to go. So these are all of the ones from that list. I have The Shadow of the Wind, Truth Witch, Radio Silence, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, The Star of the Sea, The Fifth Season, and Mistborn, which I swear I brought up. Mistborn. I need to read the entire trilogy this year as well. I've been meaning to read it for such a long time, so yes, all of those books, hopefully this year. We'll see. I don't know if I can do it, but we'll see. And the last question, which actually a lot of people miss out, is favorite book community member. And I am just gonna list some people who I have like discovered or rediscovered in the last year. So not just in 2021, I mean from like the time that I filmed this video last year until now. These are people who I just like love their videos. We have A Cup of Nicole. If you don't watch her videos, you should be. The Roomies Digest. They're great. Let Me in the Library. Again, Rachel's videos are top tier. Noelle from Noelle 7 Pages, of course. You already know that I love her, but I haven't mentioned her in this video before because I filmed this video last year before she had restarted her channel. So Noelle. And then also Mafalda from Mafalda is Reading. I only started watching her videos in the last year. And then the last person, I have been watching her videos for years, but I feel like I've been watching her videos more recently, and that is Hannah from Snow White Reader. Her videos are just perfection, and if you're not watching her videos, you are missing out. So those are all of my like favorite book community members. I'm sure there are other people who I've also forgotten. There definitely are actually. So those are just a few of them. The list is endless, to be honest. But my camera is really dying, so I have to go. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. Leave me a comment telling me your favorite book of the year so far and your biggest disappointment, because I would love to know. If you made it this far in the video, leave me the little person blowing that little thing, the like celebration with the party hat. That little emoji. That's a terrible description. I'm gonna find a picture and put it on the screen. I will be uploading a video hopefully very soon, so I will see you then. Bye.